All right, ready for a deep dive into something I think we can all relate to, performance feedback. At work,
Oh, yeah.
it's not always the most pleasant experience, is it?
Definitely not. Sometimes it can feel like a chore more than something that's actually helpful.
Exactly. But what if we could actually make it work for us? Not just a box to tick, but actually, make it a tool to help us grow.
That would be a game changer.
Right. So today, we're looking at this article. It's called Delivering Effective Performance Feedback, the Strengths-Based Approach. It's by Herman Aguinis.
Gwyn's.
Yeah, like the beer.
Okay, got it.
Ryan K. Gottfredson and Harry Joe. And we're going to try to see why this traditional approach, the whole here's what you messed up thing, so often just backfires.
Makes sense.
And then we're going to look at how this strengths-based thing can actually maybe change how we give and get feedback.
I've got to say, I'm intrigued. I think we've all been there. On the receiving end of some feedback that just leaves you deflated, not exactly motivated.
Oh, yeah. And the research in this article, it really backs that up. They're saying focusing on weaknesses can actually make people less motivated,
Yeah.
make them unhappy.
Really?
Yeah. And their performance can even get worse.
Wow. It kind of seems counterintuitive. But, when you think about it, I guess it makes sense. Hearing about all the things you're not good at, that's got to be demoralizing.
Totally. And they actually quote people in the article, some employees, talking about feedback. They call it, get this, a conflict meeting, or even devastating.
Oof.
I know, right? It's like they're getting ready for like a fight, not a conversation about how to improve.
You hit the nail on the head. It really shows the emotional impact, that feedback can have. People don't often talk about that. Like, it's not just the information itself, but how it makes you feel.
Exactly. And that's where the strengths-based approach comes in. Instead of harping on what you're missing, it's like, hey, you're already awesome at this.
I like it.
It's about finding those strengths, giving positive feedback about how those strengths are helping you succeed, and it's encouraging you to use them even more.
Okay, so it's like a more positive way of looking at things, focusing on building people up, not tearing them down.
Exactly. And get this, the research shows that this kind of feedback, it actually makes people happier and more engaged at work.
Really? So
Yeah.
it's not just a feel-good thing.
Nope. The article talks about real benefits, like people are more satisfied with their jobs, they're less stressed, and they even feel like their work has more meaning.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. It makes sense, though. I mean, when you feel appreciated for what you're good at, you're bound to feel better about work and, put more into it.
Precisely. And guess what? That increased happiness and engagement, it actually leads to better performance and fewer people quitting.
So everyone wins.
Exactly. Now, I know you might be thinking, hold on, does this mean we just ignore the weaknesses?
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. It can't be all sunshine and rainbows, right?
Well, it's not about pretending weaknesses don't exist.
Yeah.
It's more about a shift in focus, I guess. Like figuring out what you can actually learn and improve and what's just, kind of part of who you are.
Okay, so some things are more like inherent talents.
You got it. So what about those, let's call them talent weaknesses? The article uses that phrase. How do you deal with those? Well, they have some cool strategies like building systems to support people, pairing them up with people who have different skills,
Okay.
or even like changing people's jobs so they can really use their strengths.
That's interesting. So it's about finding ways to work with those weaknesses, not against them.
It's like saying, okay, so maybe you're not a great public speaker, but you're amazing with data.
Yeah.
Let's use those data skills.
Oh.
And we'll pair you with someone who loves being on stage.
Exactly. It's using everyone's strengths to make a better team.
All right. Let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
The article has 9 tips for giving this, like magical strengths-based feedback.
9 tips.
Yeah. And some of them are pretty surprising.
Okay, I'm curious. What's the most surprising one?
Well, one is that you should give at least 3 positive comments for every negative one.
3 to 1. Wow. That's a big difference from how we usually do things. But I guess that would really change how the feedback feels.
Yeah, it's almost like flipping the script. But their reason for saying that is really interesting. It's not just about being nice. It's about like how the brain works, how it learns best.
Oh, interesting.
When we hear good things, positive feedback, our brains release dopamine. And that makes us more motivated to learn. So if you create a positive environment, people are actually more open to feedback.
Huh. It's like we're hacking the brain to make feedback work better.
Exactly. And the article has this great example to show how it works. It's a conversation between a manager at a bank and a teller.
Ooh, I love real-life examples. Tell me about it.
Okay, so we've got Tony, the manager, and Lisa, the teller. Tony calls Lisa into his office.
Uh,
But instead of starting with what she did wrong, he starts with her strengths. He tells her how efficient she is. He points out that she handled the most transactions of anyone that month, even though she took some vacation days.
Smart move. Starting positive makes everyone feel better, right?
Yeah. And it definitely makes Lisa more open to what he says next. So then Tony kind of shifts gears. He talks about an area where Lisa could improve, which is referrals. He says that it can be hard to find the right balance between speed and, making sure things are done well.
Subtle, but important. He's acknowledging that her job is complex. He's not just expecting perfection.
Exactly. And this lets Lisa explain her side. She says she tries to be fast because she doesn't want customers waiting, but she also makes sure to be friendly.
So she is aware of the issue. And she's already trying, it seems.
Right. So then comes the actual feedback. Tony says that she's not meeting the goal for referrals. But he doesn't just criticize her. He asks Lisa how she thinks she's doing with referrals.
I like that. It makes her think about her own performance.
Totally. Lisa admits that she focuses so much on speed that she forgets about the referrals sometimes. And then Tony asks a really good question. When is she most successful at making referrals?
He's trying to understand the situation, not just label her as bad at referrals.
Exactly. And it turns out Lisa's actually really good at referrals when there's no line of customers.
Interesting. So it's not that she can't do it. It's that the pressure of a long line changes her approach.
Right. And instead of saying you're not meeting the goal, Tony uses that information to give her a suggestion. He says she should try asking about new accounts during transactions, instead of at the end when there might be people waiting.
Clever. A simple change that could make a big difference. And it came from understanding her strengths and her challenges.
And the best part is, Lisa's totally on board. She agrees to try it out for a few days, and they schedule a follow-up meeting. That follow-up is so important because it shows he's really invested in her success, not just giving a lecture.
This is a great example. It shows how powerful the strength-based approach can be. It feels respectful, and it actually leads to a real solution. It's so much better than just telling someone what they're doing wrong.
Totally. And the research supports it. This approach isn't just about feeling good. It's about making a work environment that's positive and productive, a place where everyone can do well.
It's about helping people grow, not focusing on what they lack. It really makes you think, like, what if every workplace was like this? Where people felt valued and like they could be themselves,
I know, right? And this isn't just a dream. The research actually shows that this kind of feedback, it can really make a difference. More productivity, more creativity, people working better together.
And it just makes sense, from a human perspective. When you feel good about your work and someone notices the good stuff, you naturally want to do more. You want to do better.
Yeah, it's like a positive spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And it all starts with just changing how we think about things, focusing on what people are good at and how they can use those strengths to achieve more.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that feedback doesn't have to be scary. It can actually be something that helps you grow, helps you learn, maybe even, enjoy work more.
Absolutely. And it's not just about those formal reviews. You can use this approach every day, whether you're a manager, a coworker, or just a friend.
Right. It's about creating a good environment where people feel supported and encouraged.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we wanted to leave you with something to think about. It's a question from the authors. What's one strength you could use more powerfully in your work or in your life? And how could you ask for feedback that helps you grow that strength?
That's a good one. It makes you think about what you're good at and how you can get even better.
Totally. It's about taking control of your own development and finding those people who can really help you shine. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time for another exciting topic.